wonder if this is a sign of things to come. It's Tuesday morning. I don't know what the date is. Saturday the 23rd, Sunday 24th, till 26th of September, I guess, 2023. And couldn't get more of a contrast to when I was last out. It's the day before we're supposed to get the big storm. But the sea laps gently on the coast. The wind is getting up a bit, but it's not too bad. I'm on the sheltered side of the hotel. Every now and again you can hear the waves lapping. It's not that cold, a little cool, but I've got my t-shirt on. I don't feel too bad. And this morning, the reason why I'm walking up this way, I'm heading for another brownie point. You're used to seeing me walking along the prom. You've probably had enough me being on the sea side of the prom, as it were. So I'm just walking up this way so you can get a flavour of the hotel side of it. And these modern monstrosities, look, at least you can still pay in cash here. But, what surprises me is the amount of cars. Even on Eastbourne Seafront, which is supposed to be a prime seaside resort, overnight you've got plenty of gaps and plenty of places to park, but here there's just not many gaps at all. It's parking all the time. Whether that's because so many holiday makers come by coach, or whether these are actually residents, I don't know. People are out having a quick walk this morning. There's somebody over there jogging along the seafront. I've just passed a hotel where there's a couple of old boys doing what some folks still do at this time of the morning, outside the hotel for a cop and a drag. Although you don't see that anywhere near as often as you used to, as we're becoming a nation of non-smokers. That in itself is not a bad thing. But here is my brownie point coming up. Street furniture is a little thing of mine. I like to spot the different post boxes. And here is a letterbox, you'll notice, VR. But it's more unusual than the ones I find because it's got post office cast in the top, and at the bottom you will see the maker's name. Handyside and Company, Derby and London. Now I've seen a few Victoria post boxes, but I haven't often seen them with the foundryman's name on the bottom, so I think that's a plus. Can I have a brownie point for that? Can I have an extra brownie point? I can. Thank you. Walking up here with the Great Orme ahead. One lady, she had the time yesterday afternoon. She managed to get up there on the tramway. So this morning I am absolutely green with envy, because the way the weather's going and the way the holidays had to be rearranged potentially to cope with the weather. As I said on previous recording, I'm now at great risk of not only not getting to the top of Snowdon, but also not getting to the top of the Great Orme again. I don't know. I don't seem to be having much luck with those two aims in life, and to be honest, I can't see me having another holiday in Llandudno and spending a lot of money just to do those two things when the weather is so bad, or risk being that bad. But having said that, I'm glad to be back here. I love North Wales, it's in my soul. Excuse me. And of course I got Jackie with me this time, so it's a real pleasure to show her the places I love. The trouble when you film documentaries, people look at you walking along the street talking and they look at you as though you've got three heads. There's another post box coming up. Do you know, I have never seen so many post boxes. Looking at this pavement, I'd say there's been some rain recently. I'm just passing the Mad Hatter now. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. If I got 2 brownie points for that other one, can I have some more brownie points for this one? Look, I don't think I have yet come across such an ornate Victorian letterbox. Look at the top of that, and a coat of arms. That is unusual in itself. My word. There is no maker's name cast into the base of this one that I can find. But this has got to be a rare find indeed. Stand back and have a proper look. This is indeed very unusual. It is one of very few surviving, let alone in regular use, penfold hexagonal design post boxes. They were constructed, built, whatever you want to call it, until 1879, and the round ones continued after that. This is a listed one, and there are, as far as I know, a few recreations somewhere else, but this is original, it's genuine, it dates back to 1865, so it is indeed a rare survivor and a rare beast. Stands outside probably what is the oldest hotel in Llandudno, which is the Queen's. At the time of filming was still undergoing renovation work, but it's expected to open again for business in that wing in 2024. And the Queen's Hotel, as I say, it's possibly the oldest hotel here. it goes back to about 1849, when all the land between the two Ormes, there was nothing there really, and it was owned, like an awful lot of other stuff was and still is, by the Mostyn family. And they signed a lease in 1849 allowing an entrepreneur, I can't remember his name offhand, my apologies for that, they allowed him to develop a hotel on the site, and I think more than likely had his hand in building a lot of the others. That was really the beginning of the development of Victorian Llandudno. I think the George Hotel, a short distance away, was the second one. So here you have history. A very early and very rare letterbox, pillar box, outside probably the first hotel in Llandudno, which was the beginning of the Victorian seafront and the tourist trade here. Just as an aside, I think what's happened here is that where they built the pavement up with the tarmac and what have you, they've actually covered up the maker's name, but I've done a little bit of digging, and it seems that most of these Penfold pillar boxes were made by a company called Cochrane and Company. So there you are, it's a Cochrane pillar box to a Penfold design. As I say, the design discontinued after 1879. Here it is, and I'm going to have 5 brownie points for that. Thank you very much. I've come over to this side of the road so I can get a better look. Compared to some of the hotels, it's quite an ornate facade at the front there, the White House, typical Victorian balcony. Also, people sitting on seats outside the hotel. This is why I like to film early, because I like to get out when there's nobody about, and then I can talk freely. But doing it this way, and people sort of look at you and go, "Ooh, look at him, what's he doing?" But it's interesting to walk along this bit, because I suppose the closer I get to the town centre, if you like, the posher the hotels seem to become, which I suppose is quite natural. These are the lovely linear gardens here, with the palm trees and everything else. It's supposedly quite a balmy climate. There's some more. Oh, they've just cut the grass. Not this morning, literally, but there's still a lovely smell. It's obviously been cut yesterday. And that's another large hotel in there, St George's. And the cars are in the way. The Elsinore next to it. Yes. And people starting to get out and about. It's about 7:30 in the morning. There's not much point in going any earlier because there's no light. And unfortunately this morning there's no sunlight. Although the sun is there. And I'll show you the sun. There he is. Doing his best. But what I like about being able to zoom in on a sun like this is the contrast, and you could go right the way through everything and change the colours. Look at that. Sorry for the shake.
All the same, isn't it? As long as you got the ball, I think.
And there is Mr. Sun. Apologies, it would have been a bit blurred there. It's not bad, this new camera of mine that I'm using. It's a Panasonic, as opposed to the Sony that I still have actually. I have both cameras now, one as a backup. But this one tells me when I'm panning around too fast. Obviously too late by the time it does. But anyway, I just thought I'd draw your attention to some of these very ornate street lights here. And Conwy District Council is cast in the post. I mean, these are no great age, I wouldn't have thought, to be honest with you, but it's interesting to note that they're quite prepared to do this ornate casting up here. And when you look up at the top, it's still ornate right at the top. I bet you just love my videos, don't you? The man who goes around the town filming rubbish. But I like to look for the things that people don't see. And there's another view looking into the town centre. I think that's Lloyd's Bank on the corner there. Heading into the main, the part of the main street. There's these Victorian, I call it canopies, balustrades, call them what you like. They're what give the main street its character. One of them is now a Starbucks. It's on the other corner, I think it is, but we've still got some of these original buildings, but with possibly one or two exceptions. I doubt very much whether any of them were here much before the middle to the end of the 19th century. And without realising it, I've walked up to the pier. So I've actually got quite away from the hotel. I don't think I've ever found so many post boxes in such close proximity. I haven't seen any right up here. I'm wondering whether the idea was that they would give the people staying in the, shall we say, better classed hotels a morning walk to go and post a letter. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? We're now in Glenanmore Parade. And I think this is probably as far as I'll walk this morning. And I'll make my way back down into the town centre and back along to the hotel. I can't remember exactly what I filmed 3 years ago. I'm going to have to go back over my old videos to make sure I don't make double trouble for myself. Oh, this is interesting. It's not a toilet, is it? Let's have a look. Probably not. In memory of Diane Salisbury, a well-known resident of Llandudno. Oh, it's rather nice. Somebody who did a lot for the town. Corp and Diane Salisbury. There you go. Or should I say, Corp and Diane Salisbury. Not to remember the pronunciation. I'm getting too old to learn Welsh, to be honest. I should have learned it a lot earlier. Lovely language. And I think this is the, yes it is, this is the War Memorial. There's another post box up there by the pier. Just the names of all the soldiers, airmen, sailors. 1932, that one particular. And above it you have 1918. Rest in peace everyone. I hate war, I hate the thought of it. And yet here we are, 2023, and people don't learn their lesson, and the smell of potentially World War III is everywhere. Oh well, mustn't dwell on that. I'm heading for another post box. Only a few yards down the road and we come to the terminal for the Great Orme Tramway. I'm going to be in big trouble if I don't turn around and go back shortly. It's quite a way up here. There's that wheel closer up. Sure that wasn't there last time I was here. But, you know, you've got to keep doing things. I still question whether, when this is obviously built on the land, this first part, can you really call this part a pier? And does it really count towards the length of the pier as being the longest pier in Wales? I'm open to debate for that. Here's a better view of this lighthouse type thing they got here. You want to buy you up a Scottish Glods, fish and chips, then go right ahead. And here is this post box, which is rather bare by comparison. But again, this is unusual. It doesn't bear any regal seal, and yet there is Handyside. Now one wonders whether that's another Victorian post box or not. It is unusual to find it without a royal seal, but as ever, can I have a brownie point for finding no royal seal on it? Yes, thank you. Actually, I'm going to give myself 1.5 brownie points for that, because this is indeed a Victorian pillar box. After the Penfold designs were superseded in 1879, along comes Handyside, who got a very large contract to provide pillar boxes for the post office. But for the first 13 years or so, they produced them like this. And there were actually two versions. You'll see where the aperture is on this one, between the two ridges, as it were. Well, this is the later variation, so this could be any time, I suppose, from about 1885, 1886 to 1892. The original Handyside designs of these had the aperture between the top cap and the first of those bands. Not really very convenient for some people. So there we are, a genuine Victorian pillar box by the company called Handyside. And as I say, we can date it to about 1885 to 1892. So I seem to be giving everybody a lesson in the history of pillar boxes, aren't I? Well, I have to say thank you to Jules Guides for exciting and interesting these things for me, because on his tours of London he He gets very excited about the different types of street furniture. And I can certainly understand why. They are pointers to our social history since the early Victorian times, and as such are very interesting objects very often, and some of them are quite ornate. Luckily we still have quite a few around and about the country if you look hard enough. And with that I'm going to make my way back towards the hotel. But just before I do, here's another. I'm not sure which classification that is. I think that's a K8 or a K9. But I know the two post boxes that I tend to look at for the earlier ones, the K2s and the K6s. Very rare K4. Not many of them around. But this is a 1970s, but it's still unusual. There's still a telephone in there, and it still works. But I thought just before I go back to the hotel and end today's filming that I just had to show you a different viewpoint. Oh, don't come round too fast. Up there you can see how the sun is now shining its light onto the Great Orme, and I'm much closer here obviously. But the cloud has parted, the sun is coming up, it's shining on the wheel. Where's the wheel? There's the wheel, the Grand Hotel. And as I pan round, there's the sun. I know you like to see that. And thank you, madam, for the good you're doing there. You're going around picking up the litter that unfortunately we human beings will insist on leaving wherever we go. I think that's disgusting. And here's a sweep around the whole of the bay at Llandudno. And with that, I am going to finish filming for the morning. We're off to Caernarfon today, so I will say Borida, and I'll see you later. Caernarfon again. The wind is blowing, rain is falling, and coaches do what coaches do. They drop people off. I'd say, see you in 3.5 hours. And we don't care if you get soaking wet. But then we're British, that's what we do. And I'm standing outside the toilet. And here we go, see what we can find this time. Well, here is the statue of David Lloyd George in what is now the main square at Caernarfon. As most of you know, I've been here before. We're going to may have to lower the volume on this in order to be able to. But I'm having a slightly different look over at the quay today. And as I've said before, that's where the slate used to come down from the Llandudno quarry and be exported all over the world. A lovely view. There's the castle, of course. Probably the finest of Edward I's castle still standing. But not the best of days by any means. But at least the rain has stopped for a bit, so we can have a wander round. There seems to be a bit of a lack of toilet up this part. And who have we got here? Let's have a look. I don't know where they've gone. I've lost Jackie. Sir Hugh Owen. Who was Sir Hugh Owen? Let's go round here and have a closer look. Oh, there they are. A tireless philanthropist who devoted his life to the establishment of non-sectarian primary schools in Wales. There we go. That's the post office. The old civic buildings by the looks of it. And here I am standing in what was once the big roundabout in the centre of town. I had to bring you around here to see this. Thanks to Jackie for pointing it out. The rear of one of the chapels that I found last time I was here, but I wonder if this is in use still. This is very early for a chapel, 1826. But it's a very interesting survivor. But I wonder what its use is now. It says it's a Caernarfon centre, but I don't know quite what that means. It's kind of ugly with this wooden bits at the back, but nevertheless it's a grand survivor. One of the it's Ebenezer Chapel it was at one time. Yes, it looks like it's something different purpose now. There we go. The sun's coming out now, so we can have a different view of the square. This may be the last time I see it, but at least the sun's shining a bit now. The things I've noticed at Caernarfon is where they made the gaps in the city wall or arches in order to get roadways and that through. Here it looks almost as if they've just knocked a whole bit out the wall. Can you see that? There's the castle, there's the wall to make a gateway through there. A nice blue paint on that building. There's another place where they've actually built a new archway with a clock over the top of it to link two sections of wall. But you see very much where some of these castles, actually, like Conwy, had the township enveloped inside the walls, presumably for protection. And there you have ancient and old, as opposed to modern. Interesting building there with its almost tabernacle type window right at the top. I doubt very much whether that was a church, but it's amazing how everything looks shabby at the back. Good view from the balcony up there. Not that I can see anybody on the balcony at the moment. They come up there and wave like royalty. Now I can take a video of this time because I didn't get the chance to before. But I was talking on the first video I made from Caernarfon about the historic docks here, and here at the quayside is the original Harbour Master's office dating back to 1840. It's still in use nowadays for various purposes. That's interesting up the top there of the weather vane. Provided I've got to it. There it is. Yeah. LCD screen again. Can't see a thing. But looks like they've finished the work here now. Every time I've been in the last few years there's been bits and pieces of scaffolding and what have you, but it's that new green building sticking out like a sore thumb amongst the older buildings. I think I've shown you the older buildings before. Car park full up. You don't see people in the shops. That's the problem. But anyway, that's looking down. When you look down towards that footbridge down there, there we are. That's the Welsh Highland Railway station. And I don't know if you can see where is it, but there is steam rise in there. There is a locomotive just running round its train. Where am I? Where's the factory? Yep, can you see it there? Just running round its train. It's the ex-South African Railways Bay of Garrett. That'll be on its way to Porthmeadow in an hour or so. And the mountains in the distance. When the sun comes out here, it's quite a pleasant place. What isn't pleasant is the fact that you've got these coaches that are not supposed to be in this part at all, and yet they've got to find their way round. But look at these magnificent castle walls. It doesn't earn its prize as one of the most celebrated castles for nothing, does it? And there you are.